Just let it play longer and longer every time. What is going on, Joe? Oh, what happened there? Oh, you know what? I have a stream playing in the background somewhere. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Hang on a second here. I have another browser open somewhere that's playing this. Oh no. Okay, I literally have a random browser somewhere that is playing the stream. It's coming in from somewhere. I don't know where we're getting a loop. Let me see. Wow. Not a clue here.
Okay.
Just give me, oh, there it is. Hello. Okay, wow. This is what happens when you have like a million tabs open. I'm sure nobody here is ever guilty of that. But anyway, let's just bring this vibe back in. What's up, Joe? Let's get it going. Episode 53. We're going to do all the comparisons today. And people are like, wow, we're going to compare the quality of this live stream. Okay. All right, what's up, everybody? Joe, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about some case studies that we will release later in the week. That is in our Effin' Growth content style, and we're going to be talking all about growth. How did we get from single freelancer to releasing attributes? What were the steps along the way, and how does this all relate to growth in Webflow? It's going to be a good episode. We've been preparing a lot for this one. Usually we just come up with some show notes, speak whatever's the community's talking about at the time. But this one we have really, really thought about. So I'm excited.
Yeah, this has been a bunch of time in the background kind of prepping these. I know a lot of you have been asking questions about some of what we're going to discuss. We're going to get deep into all of that. So before we get too far into this thing, let's effing grow. Okay, so like we usually do, let's say what's up. We got a squad with us today, so let's take a look at the comments. How many do we have with us today? Right now there's about 50 of you hanging out. So let's see, Aditya's in the house. Ukulele, pumped that we get 3 streams this week. That is important to point out. We've got this stream today where we're just basically going to intro the concept. We're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of Finsweet, how our approach to products has kind of changed over the last few years. And then we're going to tease the 2 articles, but this Thursday and Friday is really where we're going to drop the heat. So you want to stay tuned to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed for that. Great design lead in the house. What's up? We'll give you a shout out later as well. Jay Poucher's in the house. Maggie is here. Pixelita, Armando, Rohan. What's up? Magdalena in the house. Aditya, 30 waiting before it even starts. Yeah, I think it was up to like 40 something here. We'll get, we'll climb. This will climb as we go. So share this with a friend. Make sure you like the video as we go. Eve Kaiser in the house. What's up? Gabe Perez, Fernando Vibhor, Daniel is here. What's up? Eric, Jesse Neiman. Hey fam. Owana Felix, what's up? I'm having some fever right now, but can't be missing the stream. Hope you're feeling all right over there. Be sure and get some rest. Max is here. Penny's here. Kyle Pitticelli. What's up, Kyle in the house? Christopher Coleman, Gabriel O, Charles Babis. What's up, Babis? I don't think Babis has missed the episode. So shout out to Babis. I was going back and looking at some of this. I think Babis has been here for every single episode. If you've been in every single episode, leave that in the comments. Give us like a OG, like just a shout out or something like that. Frank is here, Greg Dolan, Dale Jensen, Ukulele. Okay, we've gone through Alan Connor. Oh, Alan Connor, welcome back. Victoria. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Okay, let's get into the run of the show here. We've got a couple events to run through before we get started here. So let's just shout that out. The Webflow show is coming up right after the show here. They're going to have the Pixel Geek on. Everybody knows Pixel Geek. Nelson has been instrumental to a lot of us in the community, so go show him some love on that Webflow show. That's on Twitter. I'll be on the Webflow show March 1st. So as we get ready for this March open house, we're going to start doing collaborations with different folks all over the space. And so anyway, that is coming up March 1st. Penny is going to be showing up at the Floxies from intention to completion, talking about is procrastination getting in your way. So that'll be a fun event. If you're not involved with the Floxies, oh, you know what? Hang on. I always forget. Like I do the prep and then I don't bring it up. What's going on, Rymar? What's going on? Okay. So anyway, check out the Floxies, floxiescommunity.webflow.io. RR Abbott is doing a online meetup for Webflow creators in the Los Angeles area. Go check that out. RR is a valuable resource for the community, works at Webflow. Shout out to him if he's watching now or in the future. Global Open House is coming up March 24th. This is a baller ass event. You do not want to miss this. We talked about it a little bit last week. We will be talking about this a lot as we move forward over the course of the next 6 weeks. We're talking to all sorts of folks in the community. If you're interested in getting involved with us, we're open to anybody who wants to come. If you're doing something in the community, if you're interested in hosting a group, we're gonna have all sorts of breakout sessions. If you want to host a little panel, breakout, anything like that, we're open. Just reach out to us anywhere, DMs in one of our Slack channels. You can reach out directly to me, Rymar, at finsweet.com, but we'd love to have you as part of that event. Let's see. And then that's it. I think that's it for the events. We are on a path to 10,000 subscribers. I think we got like 160 since last week. We're up to 9,700 subscribers. So our goal is to get to 10,000 by the end of the month. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, come on. What are you waiting for? Now's the time. Let's do it. Okay.
It's possible. We're so close. We've been talking about this goal for weeks now, and it just seemed a little far away, but now we are in crunch time. It's 2 weeks. We have 300 to go. I think we're going to do it.
We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
Okay. No Code North. This is a group of Canadian webflowers, meetup organizers. I think this is Maggie is in our crowd. Penny is involved with this. Jeremy Leroux. There's a number of folks up in Canada that are putting together this group. So check that out. We'll put those links in the description for anybody watching. Let's see. Shout out to Emily Giordano, the Great Design Lead podcast. If you have not checked this out, she's got a big roster of folks you should be listening to. People like Vlad Magdalene, our very own episode 33, Joe Krug is on there. Claudia, we talk a lot about the different folks here. So if you want to get to know the folks behind the community here, and she does a good job of kind of digging a little deeper into just, like not just the stuff you might already find about folks in the community. She goes back into their backstory. She gets, kind of down into the personality of the people. And it's cool to kind of get behind the scenes with them. So shout out to that. Once again, episode 33, Joe Krug, shout out. What's up?
I'll say maybe even a little too deep.
Ooh.
I was sharing some things on that podcast that I never thought I would share in a business setting. And it felt good. I'm happy. I don't regret anything that I said there. But man, she really did dig deep. So yeah, if you want to know about me outside of Finsweet, I think we talked about Finsweet for 10 minutes in that 2-hour session. This is the place to do it. Yeah, Emily, really great person and a really great experience being on that show.
Yeah, and shout out to Emily, who's in the audience with us, just kind of found out about the Growth Podcast, so she wasn't even aware that we were doing the stream. So welcome to the live audience. Okay, I think that's it for announcements and events and updates. I think we got a lot to cover today, so we're going to jump right back into this little view here, and we're going to get started with our disclaimers, because we want to make sure, and the reason we're doing this show, and the reason, and did we launch that article today, Joe? Did we launch the article about why we're doing this? Is that going out live?
That's part of the disclaimer.
Boom, boom, boom.
I think we're gonna share that link as we're going through the disclaimer. So good timing here.
Yeah. Do you want to set that up for us?
I'll take it. Absolutely. So our disclaimer is we have created case studies comparing our products to products that are popular in the community. And we want to make it clear that we have a lot of respect for everybody inside the Webflow ecosystem. This is part of great products and part of growing as a platform. So what we are doing here is to educate you. It's to help bring the Webflow industry to that next level. And that's why we're making this case study. One of the reasons, the reason we started doing it is because everybody is asking about it. We have had non-stop questions asking, how does attributes relate to JetBoost? How does client-first fluid responsive relate to Wizardry? And instead of writing out paragraphs of Twitter responses, we have created these official case studies. So we're doing it for you. And Reimar, what did I forget here?
No, I think that's it. We tried to stay as objective as possible where we could. We tried to use like industry standard as benchmarks. We tried to create favorable circumstances wherever, like wherever we figure these out. So what you're going to see and what we'll tease towards the end of this episode is kind of how we did the comparison a little bit. We'll give you a little glimpse at the articles. We won't show you a lot, but we want to show you the depth that what we're going to go through here. So we're really looking at all of this from a couple of lenses: performance, accessibility, usability, how complicated is it for folks to pick up and understand, all of these things. And so it's going to be a well-rounded approach to all of this, and we're really interested to see what you all think about this. And as always, we're open for that feedback. So Joe and I are both available at any level, whether that's publicly or privately. If you feel you need to say something on Twitter about this, if you feel you need to get into the comments, or if you just want to reach out and ask us questions, we're happy to do some of that. And so those episodes Thursday and Friday will really be dedicated to doing that. The article we're releasing today is kind of going in a little bit more detail about why we're doing this, in the spirit of why we're doing this. And I think we'll talk a little bit about the evolution of this ecosystem and how the competition will grow over time. And so we'll address some of that as we go through the show, but I think that's good for now.
Excellent. And I'm going to go ahead and share our article, our introduction article, inside the comments here. We wrote an article explaining what we just said in this disclaimer, but in a very structured way. These are the reasons we're doing it. This is why we care so much. And this is definitely something you should read if you want to follow us on Thursday and Friday.
Nice. Okay, so let's get into this, and here's how it's going to go. We're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of Finsweet products, and then I'm going to turn the reins over to Joe a little bit. We'll go back and forth on like story time. We're going to walk you through a little bit of how we got here, because a lot of people see maybe you're just finding Finsweet for the first time, or you're just getting to know us, or you're just entering the Webflow space for the first time. And maybe you're finding this article a few months from now, and you're just discovering some of these things. So we kind of want to set the foundation here. We take for granted that we all know Finsweet, that we all know the evolution, and that we've kind of been here because we've been here. But just to set the record, we want to go forward and set a little bit of the background, and then we're going to go into just some of the rest of this here. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution here, Joe. We went from, this kind of all started just solving problems for clients and then releasing these tools for the ecosystem, and that's evolved a long way. So why don't we just start with that, how this kind of started, maybe set that scene, and then let's go into that evolution. Maybe let's spend the next 5 minutes or so talking about the evolution.
Sure. I'm going to start this story all the way from the beginning, from me, one person shop in Finsweet, and we're going to end this little story today. I started building in Webflow, and I remember the first few sites didn't need JavaScript. I very specifically remember this, that I was able to avoid JavaScript when building with Webflow. And Reimar, this is, I don't know if this is the right story for this.
Just trying to put a little visual
okay.
to what you're talking about here.
Sure. Okay. So we have solutions that are needed for client sites, and we don't need JavaScript. I found after a few sites that I was needing JavaScript. And what I would do is I would go in another project and copy that solution that I figured out for that project and use it in another one. I didn't even have my own repository. I didn't have a little snippet section. I didn't know any of this. I just went into the past project and did it. So I thought, let me make a snippet repository. Let me get all of these solutions in one place. And that was Hacks. Finsweet Webflow Hacks. That was our first piece of content that released. That was our first product, our first tool, our first introduction into the community was Hacks. And it all started from me realizing I need JavaScript on websites. That's just the reality of building more complex websites. You will need JavaScript. You have to customize. So went ahead and built Hacks. At this time, we had a full-time JavaScript developer, and this is the developer that developed almost all of the Hack solutions on this site. Next, what's the most popular hack? So as we started releasing more and more, I started to see, okay, this is useful. People like it. Also, this was the first of its time. Let me make that very clear. This was 4 or 5 years ago. There were not Webflow JavaScript snippet repositories. There were not any resources for this technical content. So it was kind of new. A lot of people didn't like it because it was a little too technical, but I kept pushing it. I felt it, I needed it, and there were a few people that did need it. And a lot of people needed the filter solution. This was the most popular one. All of the YouTube videos had 20 views, 50 views, and then the filter one had 2,000 or 3,000 views. And it just shined above all of the other hack solutions that were out there. So I thought, well, this is a good filter solution, but it's not the best. Even I have trouble implementing our own hacks filter solution. It's difficult with Mix It Up. You sometimes need that extra JavaScript. So I said, how can we build our own Mix It Up for Webflow? How can we build a JavaScript library that requires less steps, that helps people implement? And that's what CMS Library was. That is the launch of CMS Library. It was based in CMS Filter, our most popular hack. This is all from learning and just experiencing what people are asking for. And with CMS Library, I was the one that came up with all of the logic. I had a developer that we hired, a different one, a more experienced one than the one writing the hacks. And I told him, filter has to work exactly like this in all of these steps. And I would make these very long spec documents, film videos. We'd have hours and hours of meetings talking about exactly how all of these things work. The problem is the developer didn't really understand a lot about Webflow. I had to teach the Webflow side of it. I didn't have the JavaScript side. This person didn't have the Webflow side. So there was a little bit of a conflict, but still with my directions and his knowledge, we were able to build CMS Library. CMS Library was a big success for us. We have a lot of people using it. Right now, I believe CMS Library serves about 35 million page hits per month, around that number, a little bit, yeah, 35 million page hits per month, CMS Library. So people have this installed in their sites. This is important. This is popular. However, this was not a perfect solution. It worked for a lot of use cases, but there were a lot of problems with CMS Library. And if you use CMS Library, it's almost guaranteed that you had some type of issue with it for one of your implementations. Maybe it didn't apply to an implementation, or there was a bug or some weird thing. We knew that we needed a new solution. We knew that we needed to get to that next level. And instead of me giving the directions to a developer, it was a developer that knows Webflow and knows development, leading the cause on this new development. And that's what attributes is. Attributes is our next version, our growth step of what we did in CMS Library. And we wanted to make the process easier. We wanted to remove the most difficult part of the process using the code. And it's a true set of iterations that got us where we are now. Freelancer going site from site, just copy pasting his own solutions, then building hacks, then building CMS Library, and then building attributes. That is the progression. And each one of these is a very specific growth step for Finsweet. So that's how we got here. That's the story. That's how I like to think about where we go from freelancer to attributes. And we're so proud of attributes. We want attributes to make you feel safe, to make you feel like you have this special toolkit that can take you to the next level. And we can very, very safely and securely give you that confidence to implement these features. So that's it. Reimar, what do you think about that?
No.
That was 6 years of story.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like a 6-year overnight success. So it's cool to see how this evolves. A lot of people that may be getting into this space, maybe think they're going to hit a home run on their first product, or we talk a lot of times that it takes effort and it takes consistency and it takes evolution. It takes kind of knowing where you're at and figuring out where you're at and then figuring out how to get past that or how to grow past that. And so, we wanted to kind of set this scene because a lot of times, you see something that comes out into the market and you think like, oh, look at this solution. It's so powerful. Look how everybody's talking about this. Look how many people using it. Look at whatever. Like, I could never do that. But it didn't start as that, right? It always starts as this other thing, right? It starts as Joe copy and pasting these things and then figuring out how do you bring those solutions to more people at scale, and then how do you turn that into another thing, and then it starts snowballing. And so anybody who's out there that's looking at this, we want to let you know that our intention here is really to help folks grow with these tools and build with these tools, and encourage you all to figure out where can you add to this ecosystem, right? Because the ecosystem is growing. The Webflow ecosystem is evolving. And I do want to mention real quick the extension, because the extension is going to tie this all together. So going back with the attributes and then came the extension. The extension is kind of like the piece that's inside that, Webflow designer that's going to allow you to pull these things in easily. And so, and just to speak about evolution, like the extension wasn't something that was on the radar when we did CMS library and when you release the attributes and when we go to this other thing, the attribute or the extension kind of like comes out of nowhere. And so to make the point that as you start and as you explore and as you learn with this stuff, you'll stumble into new opportunities to keep doing more of it. And like opportunities just present themselves. And so that should just be said that there's a process here. And a lot of times y'all don't see, some of this. And I think that's what's happening in the Webflow ecosystem right now. So let's jump into talking a little bit about that ecosystem real quick. And we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the ecosystem, your evolution as a professional, our desire to be the best a little bit, and then we're going to jump into some of these expectations, and we'll start teasing the content that's coming later this week. So, Joe, the anything there, or should we just jump right into this Webflow ecosystem?
Let's jump in.
We have a couple comments here. Should we maybe just take a second and do a couple comments here? Joe's asking, or I'm sorry, Vimalon was asking, Joe, how did you split and manage your time between those tools and client work in the early days?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of on and off, because as you know, client work is not always equal. It's not like you can just have 8-hour days of client work. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a deadline. So that caused a little bit of on and off. I would do a little sprint on it for 1 week, give the notes to the developer, let him come back with questions as I did some client work. And then I did another little sprint, came back. But yeah, this is something that you have to manage. I also realized that as I needed to spend more time on this product, I needed to bring more people in to develop websites on the agency side. And this is also what pushed our growth, so that I could focus more on these products on CMS library instead of developing for clients.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where you just have to find the balance in everything, right? You got to find what's important. You got to pay your bills. You got to make sure that you generate more leads. I saw a tweet the other day. Somebody was saying that, I think it was Felix, or so somebody that's usually in our community, regularly in our community, was talking about how they got too focused on delivering the work and not doing the sales stuff. We've had episodes about that. So yeah, finding that balance is a super important part of, just that growth and prioritizing your time. I hear a lot of people talking about how they don't have the time to do this, they don't have the time to do that. Well, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So, it's like, what do you prioritize in that time? Elchin is asking, what will be next? Yeah, there's a lot coming. There is a lot coming. We're not going to talk about that in this episode, though.
I'll give a general answer there. Paid products. So right now we focus a lot on free, and I think the next growth area will be when we start charging you for software. Attributes will continue to grow. We're not going to replace attributes as a system. This is locked in. However, the next stage is paid.
Nice. And I think that's going to become like a tradition there once we hit the 100. We just crossed 100 there. Great. Yeah, Victoria is pointing out we hit the 100, Magdalena. So thanks to everyone. But there's only 45 likes on this video, so come on, what's wrong with all y'all? Okay, so let's go back into the mix here, talking a little bit about the Webflow ecosystem as that's evolving, because I think we're early on the scene, right? Finsweet was one of the first companies to go kind of development only in the space, and now kind of leading the charge in these products, but you are starting to see a lot more products kind of pump into the space. And I think as this ecosystem evolves, we will see a lot more of that, especially if and when Webflow kind of opens up the back end to those developers. And so we see this as like, like the lines are kind of starting to form in the space, and you're starting to see like the agencies that are separating themselves. You're starting to see a little folks over here and a cool little product over there. But because it's not like natively supported by Webflow yet, because there's no official plugin marketplace, it's kind of like it's kind of just happening in random places. And so I see that evolving. Joe, what are your thoughts? Just a little bit about how you see products evolving over the next year or two, as people, like more developers, start seeing this and they're like, maybe I dismissed that a couple years ago, but what's all, like it's still here. Yeah. Why, more people are going to see that. So talk to me a little bit about our approach and what you see kind of evolving in this ecosystem as more people come to do these products, and as you see the competition get a little more stiff, which will lead to kind of this comparison content, which is what's sparking the conversation today.
Sure. The biggest thing that's preventing a lot of people from building software in Webflow is knowing how to integrate with Webflow. I think we're going to see a huge boom of products and software for Webflow once the marketplace is launched. Once there is a public API to go and start integrating with Webflow as a platform. But up until that point, you have to be really knowledgeable in Webflow to be able to develop products and software for Webflow. So it's hard to find that person. It's hard to find I'm an expert in Webflow and I can build a full scale application. So that's why we're not seeing a lot now. And I don't even think we're going to see a lot in the next year. Of course, we'll have more popping up, but not a lot. I think the boom comes once Webflow releases that marketplace. Once it's open to the public, it's going to be massive, massive product development.
Yeah, I agree. And you may be right. I think I tend to be a little more optimistic about the timeline at which things will move. And Joe is constantly like, I think we're probably a little further out. And then as things roll out, it usually ends up being a little further out. And so especially as it comes to like Webflow products and the no-code rollout. And, we see this as huge potential, but I think a lot of times we oversell the potential too. I think a lot of people in the no-code space get in trouble with this, and we've talked about that, understanding the limitations and knowing what you can actually build. But I do just see massive momentum growing, and as Joe said, more people will come in, but who knows what the timeline is, right? Who knows who's tinkering on what right now, right? Like who knows, somebody could be watching this stream, not really in the comments, not talking about anything, just quiet. You never know what somebody's working on. So yeah, that'll for sure evolve as we go through the next one. And so as the ecosystem evolves, so does your need as an individual to evolve with it and grow. And this is again why we're releasing this article today, why we released this article today, and why we're focusing on these comparisons, because for you to become an expert and to really know, you have to have confidence in the solutions you're providing. And if you're trying to scale to a certain level, you're going to start seeing that those clients expect higher level products, certain level things. And it can be easy in this space to just get lost working with a specific type of client who often doesn't have specific requirements, and then getting lost saying, oh, I built this thing and therefore it's good, right? Just because you got the thing done, therefore it's good. But that's not always the case. And so the purpose behind these case studies, as deep as they go, is to show you not only why one product maybe is better than the other, but to teach you why that stuff matters, to share why these things are important and how they play a role in taking your career to the next level. So, this may not be important to some of you who just want to build $500 or $1,000 websites for local mom and pop shops, or even like boutique websites for $5,000, $10,000, okay, no big deal. You can get away with a lot of shit building sites for these kind of projects. Once you step into other tiers, or if you're trying to scale into higher agency work, higher tier level work, those expectations get a little higher. And so you as a developer and as someone, if you're watching the show, it's clear that you're doing this. You're diving into every channel you can to kind of learn about the space. But yeah, you should always be striving to kind of get better. And that's, again, where some of this content comes is, can we educate folks? Can we help them take that next step? Joe, any thoughts on that?
Along with that, people are getting a lot more demanding in the Webflow space. I think this is a good sign that the community as a whole is demanding better products, better software, more full feature sets. And the reason is there's more available. Just if you walk into an ice cream shop and there's 20 flavors, you'll have all these flavors in your mind. If you walk in and there's 2 flavors, you know exactly what to pick. So instead of now, there's no more 2 flavors in anything for Webflow. There's 20 flavors and 30 flavors. So everybody has their mind all over the place thinking, how can I make the best solution from all these different available tools? And because of that, the community is more demanding. And that's why we're getting a lot of questions of people asking, what's the difference? How does your solution compare to JetBoost? How does your solution compare to Wizardry? People want this information because they are demanding the best solution.
Right.
And part of that, with what you said, is bigger companies are coming to Webflow. When I first started building in Webflow, there were not big companies on the platform. It didn't exist. I remember their clients list, and it wasn't very long, the big clients list. Now you will find thousands of big companies using Webflow, and with bigger companies come more complex requirements, and now more people have to demand these better solutions.
Yeah.
So that's a big change in the community. That's one of the reasons we're pushing these case studies, because people are asking and demanding that we come out and answer these questions for them.
Yeah, 100%. And this is how this is how the ecosystem's evolving, is as competition evolves and as folks want to push it to the next level. And so we know most of y'all are trying to push your Webflow careers to the next level, which is why you're watching this stream or listening to this podcast in the future. And that's kind of what we take personally here at Finsweet. I think we have some of the smartest brains in the world that know how to use Webflow, that don't work at Webflow, right? Like, Webflow knows how to build Webflow, the product, and a lot of the folks on those teams know about Webflow. But most of the people that work at Webflow do not make their living using that platform to sell the tool they build to other people. Some of them do as freelancers, but that's where we come in, right? Like, we as the community are the folks that are using the tool to kind of grow and get to the next level with Webflow, which kind of gives us, that unique perspective where we run up against those limitations, right? We're the ones that are looking to push the limits, and that's what has brought Finsweet to kind of try to be the best, right? How do we take that experience and that knowledge in working and building these websites for larger companies, for the enterprise clients, for all of these different companies, and become the best at not just Webflow development, but at empowering you all in the community to make money with these tools and to build more tools that take this platform, Webflow, to the next level, right? How can we, fill some of those gaps? And that's kind of been this evolution here. And that, so like, take that, we were just talking about your evolution individually. Now amplify that by 50 people who are across the team at Finsweet here, and each of us trying to figure out how to do that, working together, like, that creates some really cool stuff. And so that's what drives us to create this stuff. And again, why we want to defend, right? If you look and see in the article that we released today, we talk about, like, there's, I think it was 6 reasons. Joe, should we maybe go through that?
We should.
Yeah, I think maybe we should pull that up. And did we pin that to the comment? I'm trying to find where you shared it.
I can't pin it, so you can go and pin that. I believe I shared it.
There it is. I see it. Let me. Can I pin your? I can. Okay, let's do that.
Nice.
Let me. Hang on. Give me 1 second here, because I got to bring it up on the other monitor.
I'll talk a little bit about your evolution as a professional. One of the more rewarding things of running Finsweet is hearing what the community says about Finsweet. It's now becoming very often that I receive direct messages telling me that a Finsweet solution helped them land a project, deliver a project, do something to earn a living for themselves. That is incredibly powerful, hearing that. The idea of somebody can take a project just because we offer a filter solution that they would never be able to build without our solution. That's amazing. So we're so passionate not only about our own growth and being able to support our own team in building for clients, but we want to also support you.
Yeah.
We want these tools in your hand to empower you to make more money, to grow your business at whatever speed and in any way that you want.
Yeah. And let's maybe just do this real quick. Let's answer this question. Let's see, where was it? Who are the competitors? Fernando comment is asking here. And we're going to talk competitors as it relates to the products. Because our goal is really not to compete as an agency over the long term in the world of Webflow. We're trying to move into this product sphere. The agency will continue to grow and we'll continue to do bang up stuff on the agency side, but we'd like to support a lot of those agencies. We want to see lots more agencies grow. Like our goal is to help foster the growth of lots more agencies. So you won't see us really like pointing out, competitors in that space. Because we see that there's lots of room for that to grow. The competitors we're talking about here is mostly in the product space. And as it relates to the case studies we're talking about, specifically is JetBoost and the Wizardry method. These are the two things that folks have been asking us to kind of look at how do they stack up, right? How does attributes filter stack up against JetBoost filtering? How does the client-first fluid responsive add-on stack up to the Wizardry method? I'm sorry. And so, like that's what we're going to dive in. And that's what we're talking about here. Let's jump into this and let's talk a little bit about these, what is it? The 6 reasons I think it was.
Bit down.
Yeah. So so just showing real quick, attributes versus JetBoost and client first versus Wizardry. Those are Thursday and Friday. If you're just joining us, Thursday and Friday, we're going to do that stream. So Thursday, we're doing a stream dedicated just this episode, JetBoost versus attributes. We're going to dive into deep articles, right? We got deep articles and content here about this stuff. Same thing with client first versus Wizardry. So we've got the same type of setup here, tons and tons of content about all of this that we're going to go through in detail. And so do we do like additional disclaimers here? Just kind of pointing out what we're doing inside of some of this, Joe. So do you want to talk to some of this and I'll just kind of navigate the screen here?
Sure. I'd love to read through this list. This is a list I made explaining why we are okay posting these case studies. Number one, these case studies are facts. They are not our personal opinions. We work so hard to not put subjectivity inside these studies. They are objective tests. It's objective information, and it is made to educate you. So not personal opinions, it's facts. Number two, I am always going to act in the best interest of the Finsweet team. Finsweet team is number one, more important than our clients, more important than anybody else, also than you, the community. I'm sorry, Finsweet team comes first. And that is so that everything else can grow around it. That's so that you can benefit more as the community. That's so our clients can benefit more. It all starts from the heart. So I'm always going to act in the best interest of our team. And that means if these case studies are going to help our product and help our brand, I'm going to do that. Number three, this is business. We are not funded. We make all of our revenue, all of our money from client work. We are working very hard to get to that next level in terms of revenue, in terms of growth. So this is business. We are here to exist as a business and to thrive as a business. Number four, we are protecting our investment. It takes a lot of time to do what we do for you. And we're very happy to do it. We're like really happy to do it. But like half of our team is dedicated to it. That's how much time it takes, full time. So a lot of time, money, and resources. If we're not going to finish the loop and educate you why you should use all of these products, we're just wasting our time. We don't want to just release things and then step away and say, okay, use it if you want. We want you to use these things. We're really investing in them. Number 5, we spend a lot of time making sure our solutions are excellent. There's so many things in attributes that we do that are incredibly cool. Same with client first. And you would never know these unless we are able to release this type of content, put these cool things into context, and tell you how they benefit you. So we want to share all of the really beneficial things that are hidden behind the product. And then last, this is highly educational. We are super passionate about education. That's why we're on this show right now. This is all about education, effing growth, learn it live. All of the tools and the videos we make, it's all to educate you and to give you this next level of knowledge. So these articles are going to be that next level of knowledge. Everybody learned when creating these articles, even the people that know all the information and wrote the whole thing. So this is, I mean, you're just going to learn so much from this. And that's it. Those are the 6 core reasons why we're doing this, why we feel very comfortable releasing these case studies. And this is the schedule. Today, we are talking about the growth of Finsweet. We're talking about these articles that will release on Thursday and Friday. And then we're going to do a live review of the JetBoost article on Thursday, February 17th, and then a live walkthrough of the Wizardry comparison on Friday, February 18th. And then on February 18th, after the show for Wizardry, we're going to make a big announcement for Client First. We have a really juicy update for you, and that is folders. That's all I'll say. Keep you guessing.
Folders. Whatever
Folders.
could that be? Bum, bum, bum. Okay. I wanted to, Joe, going back to your point here earlier about helping people and why some of this stuff is important here. Kayla says, took on my first 5-figure project only because attributes will make it possible. So thankful for y'all. So this is the kind of stuff that drives us, right? This is why we do this. This is, a lot of people may be wondering, like, why put this kind of content out? Why spend so much time doing this for free in the community? Why haven't you charged money for a lot of blah, 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 whatever. We will get to all of that, like eventually we know that as this grows, we will have our opportunities to provide value that y'all can pay for, right? That we know that'll come. But learning and hearing about this kind of stuff and getting folks, we've had a number of times people tell us that they landed a 5-figure project because of stuff they learned from us or from tools that we were able to put in their hands. So that is that's what this is all about for me and for Joe. I know that personally. So yeah, any thoughts on that, Joe? And
it's rewarding. It makes it okay that we're not charging for it. I know that we could put a $5 a site paywall on attributes. I'm sure we'd have pretty good revenue from that, and we'd be very successful doing that. But the reality is I'd rather have more people using this, experiencing it, and doing exactly what Kayla's doing than put that $5 paywall on and have somebody never use it ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is why we do this.
Right. Yeah, and when we know and figure out that the stuff we do is gonna really provide that next step of value, then we'll put the payment on that stuff. So okay, we're kind of running off script here. Let's go back to our outline real quick, because a lot of this comes back to just high expectations. Obviously, from not just ourselves, but from the people we work with, from the community itself. We know that now we have the attention of the community, right? We know we have the attention of all the people in the Webflow space that are making a living using these tools. It's very difficult for folks to be making money with Webflow and not stumble into what we're doing here at Finsweet. And so we take this stuff real serious, right? Our clients who are coming to us are some of the biggest brands in the world. If you go through and you look at our website, the Finsweet website, and you see the stuff that we're building for the various folks, across the world here, and you see, these brands on here, that they have high expectations for the work they do, right? And so this leads us to set a standard for the products and things that we create, which goes back to the 6 reasons we just read, about why this stuff is super important to us, Joe. So you want to talk about a little bit about setting that bar high, And why this stuff becomes important the more you think about accessibility becoming important, right? A lot of the stuff that we look at is going to be around two things: performance and accessibility in these case studies on Thursday and Friday. It's like literally I'd say 80% of the content is about performance and accessibility, which becomes really important if you want to build websites for folks at scale. Companies can get sued if their website's not accessible, right? This is not a thing. We talked about this before. It's not something you can just ignore. Sure, it's your little side project. It's a little whatever over here. You can get away with it, right? It's a local mom and pop shop. It's a small little business. Nobody's going to sue them. But you start building websites for WeTransfer. You start building websites for Intuit. You start building websites for, some big old brands. Well, they got deep pockets, which means they're the targets for potentially some of these lawsuits. And if you want to get into that space, then you have to take this stuff seriously. Otherwise, this could fall back onto you. Joe, any thoughts about that? Just that thought process there?
It's really serious. This is something that we now have as a standard at Finsweet. And even last year, 2 years ago, these are things that we were not considering that much. We were making these websites for people, and we saw them starting to ask for these implementations, accessibility driven, just this year. This is a new, it's not a new thing in the web, but now it's becoming the new standard. So we're taking it very seriously. We keep raising the bar of the level of quality we have at Finsweet. And this new bar is about performance and accessibility, making sure that everything we build is really following the best practices that we can using Webflow as a platform. It's really important. It's really important. And like you said, you may not experience this earlier in your career building these small sites. You can get away with this for a few years without hearing anything about accessibility, but it's becoming the requirement. And when it is the official requirement everywhere, you'll just be on top. You'll be the person, hey, I've been following accessibility practices for the last year, for 2 years. I know all of this stuff. And hearing that on a phone call for a lead, showing that in your portfolio, that is valuable. And that's what these case studies do. It's a huge education piece into accessibility.
Yeah, exactly. And performance, which if you care at all about SEO, is like a huge, deal, right? So accessibility and performance are like the two biggest things going in web right now, right? You're seeing everyone strip down all their crazy, big, complicated, in your face stuff to like streamline fast. We want this to load fast. We want this to be accessible. We want it to be easy to navigate. We want it to be clear, right? So all of this stuff is front and center in the world, and if in the world of web design. And so it's important for you all, for us, for everyone to kind of be paying attention to some of this. And so, let's see. I wanted to give a shout out to Michael. Good day from OZ, long-time Finsweet user watcher. Managed to drag my ass out of bed at 4 a.m. for a first live stream. Love your work, guys. Yeah, shout out at 4 a.m.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, get some coffee over there. Omkar is saying, Joe, can we expect some solutions for Webflow Ecommerce?
No, you cannot expect solutions for Webflow Ecommerce. And the reason is we do not get asked to use Webflow Ecommerce because our clients are not e-commerce clients. We have bigger clients, and bigger clients just can't use Webflow Ecommerce. It's really for simple stores. It's great for simple stores. So since we never get asked this, maybe we've had one implementation since it was launched. We just don't have any solutions for that. All of our solutions come from things we're doing for our clients so that next time we implement it, it's easier, or it's faster, or it's better. But we just don't have any experience with that.
Yeah.
So for now, no.
Yep. Michael Rose is saying accessibility is required if you do any kind of U.S. government work as well. Yes, government work, any NGO work, and lots of businesses now understand, hey, the website has to be accessible, right? So they're asking for this up front. So if you're dealing with any sophisticated business, they know about this because their lawyer has warned them about this, right? Because people are being actively sued. At least I know in the United States, there are 4 states that you can have punitive damages. I think it's like Hawaii, Illinois, California, and Florida. But I'm sure in other places, this is serious business. This is all serious business. And when people are paying tens of thousands of dollars more, tens of potentially, hundreds of thousands of dollars for websites, this stuff has to be baked into the cake. And so again, we take this stuff really serious, which is, why we try to set the bar high. That doesn't mean we're always going to be perfect, right? That doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes. That doesn't mean we're not going to have to learn and find out, as you'll see when you look through this, that we did some things in CMS library that we no longer do in the attributes system, because we learned that those things are not best practices, and that's how we evolve into the next step. So we're not saying this to tell everyone like we're perfect and everything we do is going to be, exactly right every single time. It's to say our intention is to be the best at the things that we do, which is developing for the world of Webflow, building these products, and empowering you all to do the same thing. And so, don't take this as us just standing up here and just saying like, we're never going to make mistakes. That's not it.
I like to think of attributes and client first as a good starter point, a good starting point for following all accessibility practices, that you can implement our solutions and then build something inaccessible on top of it. But we are trying to give you that really strong base of, hey, this right here is accessible. These are the filter UI buttons you can use that are also accessible. And if you do these things, you have a really good chance of having a very, very accessible site, like checking all the boxes accessible. That's our level of what we want to provide, checking all of the boxes.
Nice. Okay, so with that, we'll what everybody's probably been waiting for. I know this episode was essentially kind of a tease for what's coming Thursday and Friday, but we did want to give a little bit of a sneak peek at kind of what's coming with these articles. So do we want to go to the top of these and kind of maybe run through the outline at least, and kind of give folks an expectation for what's coming with this content here, and then we'll dive into the comments and answer any other questions and comments the folks might have as we do that.
Great.
Cool. So we'll start with the first one, which is coming out Thursday. This is, again, this is something lots of y'all have been asking us for. And so Joe, take just through a little bit on the index here. We can just run through this outline here.
Sure. So we start with a features comparison, and this is going over different features that are and are not included in both platforms. And a lot of this is really based in accessibility, what it supports, what it does not support. Does it support certain sorting and filtering and pagination features? Does it, there's just a lot of, let's look at these two side by side. And as we continue scrolling, we have our performance comparison. We have explanation of how things are set up, how the technical side of all of this works. We talk about testing, benchmark tests, which is a series of tests that we have created to help understand how fast, how performant, the process that both of these platforms take to create this end result of filtering on your website. And through all of these performance comparisons, we're showing you this is what JetBoost does, this is what Attributes does. And I'll just read down this list here. The performance comparison compares setup basics, CDN, initial load time, loading paginated items, a benchmark test, loading collection lists, rendering paginated items, blocking the main thread, DOM size, assets download, Lighthouse core vitals, filtering and sorting items, and real-world example. And through all of these, we have documented tests, we have screenshots, and we even simulate different connection speeds. So we will show you the speed of, hey, this is how these work when someone has awesome internet. This is how someone will experience these products with lower internet. And this is how someone will experience it with terrible mobile data. We cover all of these use cases to really help you understand what's going on. How does this work? Which one's better? And our goal is to show you all the cool things that we have built into Attributes to really make it that next level product.
Yeah, and excuse us for kind of scrolling through this super fast. We don't want a lot of people stopping and pausing on the video here to kind of see what's in the article, but you will see that these are deep. This is not your 300 word, like little da 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 sales pitch for what we're doing. This is like, in depth, everything you could kind of think of. And as Joe said, the you know the breakdown at each section. Why? Why is this? And then simulating it with different speeds, right? Simulating somebody with a fast internet connection, somebody with a slow internet connection, somebody with a mobile connection. How do these things impact over time? And then breaking down the processes, right? A lot of times, this is where the educational comes in. Like, people don't understand how these things work, right? How does one filter system work versus how does another filter system work? And does that have, long-term impacts, or does that have significant impacts on how the thing, performs? And so, yeah, all of that will be broken down, and we'll do the same thing with the Wizardry content here. So, Joe, do you want to do the same thing? People will be able to kind of see this outline here. And this one, we start with a little bit of a subjective opening.
Yes.
And then we jump into the objective side of things. So that'll be the only thing you'll see here, is that on the Wizardry, there's a couple things we want to like set the stage for that kind of need to be, a little subjective. And so we set the stage for that, and then we go into the test itself, which kind of gets, again, into fully objective version. And we set up, again, different ways to use, like we break down how each system is set up and how it works. Right. So a lot of times you maybe see a system and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this is, like it looks cool. What it does is interesting. It's neat. I like this. Everyone's talking about it, so it must be good. But you don't exactly know what it's doing. Right. And so these articles will help you understand, oh, this is how it's affecting this. This is how it's doing this. This is going to talk about the EMs versus REMs discussion. Right. Like, this goes deep into all of that. So, Joe, do we want to do another same kind of thing here where we walk through some of this, the outline?
Yeah, I'll just do a read through of that sidebar. We have, like we said, the overview of both systems. We're getting deep into the use of EMs, the use of REMs. And then most of the article is all about accessibility. We have a browser font size setting section and a browser zoom section. And this is explaining how both solutions compare in these two important browser settings, these important accessibility features. And it really goes deep. We go through all of the options that are available in Wizardry. We go through client first with fluid responsive and client first without fluid responsive. We look at the math in both products. This is highly technical. And when you read this and when you understand it, you really get to that next level. I actually felt this myself when I was helping to produce this content. I didn't know a lot of the things that are in here. And now through reading this and understanding it, I now have a really next level understanding of how a user can truly manage the size experience on a website. And we get into that in the section client first size scaling using REMs and VW. And we explain how the client first system works. This is how it works, and this is why we have done it like this. So yeah, this is another super educational piece. This is going to really open your eyes in web accessibility.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I think this is going to be one of those things that I'll be interested to see how the community responds to some of this. Obviously, there's no ill intent on any of this stuff. Hopefully this doesn't, this is not taken as like some backhanded slight on either of these two products. We started the show, we have ultimate respect for Chris Baggs and Timothy Ricks. They're both huge contributors to this community. Those are the folks behind the two kind of platforms that we're comparing here. We just want to, again, lay out the case for why we think it makes sense to use, some of the Finsweet solutions as you build and as you're trying to get into the next level of your Webflow development. So I think from here on out, we can just kind of jump into some Q&A. I think we can let's start with this question from Fred R. System flow as a competitor.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go into all the little utility frameworks.
The reason we're doing the Wizardry comparison is because there is an effect on accessibility. System flow, this is just a different way of building. It's a different mindset of building. To compare system flow with client first would be highly subjective. We can't come with much objective information that says this is correct and this is not correct, because it's not incorrect. It's just a different way to do it. So no, we would not consider someone like System Flow a competitor.
Yeah. Okay, Babis, can't wait to read the full article. Seems to be full of technical bomb knowledge. Yes.
Yeah.
You're gonna just roll up your sleeves and plan to spend a good amount of time kind of dissecting that content. It is technically heavy, which is why we're going to do the live streams on each of the articles. Mm-hmm. So we're going to walk through each of the articles kind of in detail, go over all the major points, explain some of the elements with screen shares. I believe Alex Iglesias will be with us in the background to answer technical questions and get into the weeds where possible. So yeah, Thursday and Friday, it's going down for real. We'll spend an hour to an hour and a half kind of going through each of those and really getting into the weeds of all of this. So let's see. Michael Rose is saying, where can I get that documentation template? Not gonna, yeah, custom design, homie.
Yeah, custom design.
Let's see.
What else do we have?
Not a ton. Let's see. Oh,
we have a question from Hans.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Fresh movie trailers. I just got a gig this week, and one of the requirements is I practice client first at Finsweet. Cool. Yeah, we're seeing more and more of this in the community, that people are posting this as part of a job listing. And it makes sense. It's really streamlined the way that we work at Finsweet. We actually had 2 people in the attributes and the client first build that have never been in those builds before. And they went ahead and created super clean and simple article pages that you just saw. And it was a seamless process. That's what client first is doing for us. So I think it's doing it for other teams out there if we're seeing these requirements inside Webflow. So great. Thank you for sharing.
Nice. And then we'll jump over to this question from Hans.
Okay. Hans asks, can analytics Google GAGTM be used with attributes and client first without any limitations? Or are there any gotchas? Well, Hans, just first thought, there shouldn't be any conflict with these 2 things. They don't necessarily relate with each other. I don't see why there would be a limitation. However, we are creating developer documentation for attributes. This is our developer API for attributes. And we actually have the base of this complete. We just have to write out the documentation and explain to you how to use it. And what this developer API is going to do is allow you to write code inside attributes. So when something like this happens in attributes, when the filter is changed, when the this is this, when the slider is whatever, go and write this code, go and implement this code, go and run this function. So you'll be able to write this code safely inside attributes. So if you did want a very custom analytics setup, that developer API will make it happen. I expect that out within a few months.
Nice. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it looks like there was a lot of talk about some of the accessibility stuff, especially as it relates to the EU. I didn't speak to that because I don't know. I can just kind of say about the U.S. stuff, but Mustafa was saying Canada as well, so that must mean on the accessibility stuff. Maybe there's some penalties there. Michael is saying, hi, can you help me understand any impact on the DOM and CSS of the extra divs used in client first when they're combined into the render tree? Cheers.
Yeah. Sure, Michael. So we don't think that the amount of divs being used is too excessive. Of course, there is a way to have less divs. There is a way to stack classes, and you can lessen the amount of divs on the page. However, we do not believe that it is a significant amount to the point where it's going to hurt performance. We actually have a section in the JetBoost article that talks about DOM size, and it talks about how attributes really focuses on DOM size. And yeah, we just don't believe that that is a problem just with client first building.
Yeah, and it's yeah, it's not. When you see how like WordPress sites add divs and some of these other things wrap content weirdly, and adding a div around some text or certain things as wrappers to add that global padding and spacing is not gonna have a significant impact on how Google's seeing or rendering those DOMs, those trees. Okay, let's see. Great design lead. When you are talking about Webflow products, are you considering membership sites? By that, I'm thinking of Airtable, MemberStack, and Zapier. That's kind of like a no-code stack, like that's the WASM stack or whatever they call it. Webflow, Airtable, MemberStack, and Zapier. I don't know kind of what's going on with some of that. Obviously, Airtable and Zapier, always doing new things, but MemberStack's been a little quiet with that product for a while now. I knew they were working on a MemberStack 2.0. I don't know where that's headed. There's a ton of other solutions for building membership sites inside of Webflow now. Things like Wiz and people doing Firebase integrations or whatever. I don't know. I don't know that's the type of products we're talking about specifically. I'm thinking more like Webflow build-ons, like specific, like MemberStack, yes, because MemberStack was like Webflow specific. It was built out in Webflow, so that would be yes. JetBoost again is kind of Webflow specific, so yes, that's kind of thing. But Airtable and Zapier, I don't know that they would fall into that. The other thing we didn't do today, Joe, is that audience prompt, which might be interesting to ask folks about. Like, I forget where is it? Audience prompt.
What other comparisons would you like to see? Yeah, and I agree with your answer about when I think of a Webflow product, I think of something specific to Webflow. Like in the hero, it has to say, hey, this is this for Webflow. It's got to be right there on the homepage. And yeah, I don't see something like a Zapier or Airtable. But yeah, MemberStack maybe. I know MemberStack supports a lot of other things. They're not just Webflow, but it is popular in the Webflow community.
Yeah,
and they do focus on that.
Yeah, and so if there's anything y'all would like to see, no promises on how quickly this stuff's going to come out. It took a ton of time to create these comparison articles that we're going to share at the end of this week. And so, yeah, if you have any thoughts about what you'd like to see us kind of focus on next. But yeah, Thursday and Friday, be sure to join us for those 2 episodes because we're going to dive deep into the nuts of each of those articles. Anna's saying here, don't even look into the Squarespace template structure. It's like the deepest structure you can find. They claim to be good with SEO. WordPress does this too with all their little themes. If you look at the exported code of a WordPress theme, like it's all just nested divs, like literally crazy layers deep. So, yeah, going back to that, the couple little things that you're adding, the couple extra divs here and there you're adding with client first is not going to be an impact.
Yeah. It can be an impact. The extra divs can be an impact if you have a large filter. If you have a large filter system and that filtering is not managed properly, you could have a large DOM size. So Michael, I think you woke up at 4 a.m. today. Try to do that again on Thursday. We'd love to have you here. We'll be talking about this specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I'd say if you have any questions about this stuff in depth, Thursday and Friday, we'll have a lot of time for that. So we'll make sure that during the episode, like we typically do, we'll address some Q&A relative to like the topics at hand. But then at the end, we'll also have a lot of time to kind of address. And we're not, I don't know. I won't throw that thought out publicly yet until it's been vetted. So, okay. Babis is saying, Michael, you're focusing on the least impactful things. If you're trying to limit the number of HTML elements, check out enterprise level websites. You'd be amazed at the number of nesting of divs. Yeah, I think, where did I see this? It was like somebody had exposed a Facebook I don't know, something that Facebook was trying to display, but they didn't want like something to be able to recognize it as all one word. And so they had done something where each letter was nested inside of a div and like lined out. And it was super crazy. It was like just one of those things that you would never notice unless you were digging deep and inspecting the code. But yeah, Babis is bringing up a good point that, you know, lots of people do different things. And when you get into those big websites, like Google knows what they're doing. You know, they know how to parse the things out there. So Barbarian G, sorry for your time. Let's see. Been a fan of yours for years. Inspired me learning Webflow. I want to ask any opportunity to work with you. I've sent email to you, by the way. Joe, how do we usually answer this one?
I will look out for your email. Yeah, depends what the email says.
And depends on what you're doing. You know, we talked about this all the time. Like, you know, we're looking for people who stand out, people who do things interesting in the community, people who are, you know, their work speaks for themselves. And then the level of kind of determination, you know, how hungry are you to kind of, you know, make a difference in this space. So, but that being said, always looking for super talented folks. So, you know, try to catch our attention somehow, flag us down. Okay, Webflow show is probably on right now after this stream. Let me see. Let me open this note. Let's see what they're doing. Just spy on them because I think we're wrapped up here. I think that's all we got, right? Do we have anything else, Joe?
No, I don't see any more questions. I will say come on Thursday, same time. It will be a walkthrough of the article. So if you don't want to read the whole thing and you prefer to go over it together, that's exactly what we're doing Thursday and Friday.
Yep. And let's go into this view here. I'm not sure how I'm set up to do this, but let's jump in and see what's
I think
here.
1 or 2 weeks later after the conference, I get an email from Webflow. I didn't get anything from Macaw, but I got an email from Webflow saying, here's your close.
Okay, so there you go. Let's go check out the Webflow show. They got the Pixel Geek on there. Let's go show some love for the Webflow show and spam their comments and everything. So let's see.
Is this on Twitter?
Yeah, this is on Twitter. Link here, I'll share the link in the comments. Let me pull this up here. I'll share this in the comments. So if you're on Twitter, go say hi. Go tell them the Finsweet crew sent you there. Let's go jump on the bandwagon. Let's see, couple final questions as that's happening in the background there. Let's see. Vic Moreira, do you have any recommendation to make your website more accessible? We follow general accessibility practice, but have seen accessibility buttons on websites. Are those integrations necessary?
Well, the content that we have out now is a clonable called the Filter UI Kit for Webflow. I will share that link in here. This is going to be a set of accessible form elements. So drop downs, inputs, all of these things. And this is going to be another accessibility release for us, these 2 articles. And the next thing we're working on for accessibility is a series of accessibility attributes for the attribute system. And what this will allow you to do is make sure your pop-ups are accessible. Make sure that your written content is accessible. We'll have all of these things available to you. So yeah, I'm going to share the clonable right now. That would be your best source at the moment. It is a big, big field, though. You can't just answer that question in 1 sentence or 2 sentences.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. I think that's it. Okay. See you at Sparrow's Fart on Thursday. Not sure what that means. Victoria Perez, thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Finsweet. Always helpful. Thanks, everyone, for a nice episode. Yeah, we'll send y'all out on the Webflow show. And again, tune in Thursday and Friday as we wrap up and release these 2 content comparisons. So we'll catch y'all later. Yeah, catch you on the flip side. Bye, everyone. Okay, we're out.